morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Road rage. It's not just a person jumping out of their car to, you know, threaten somebody or beat things up. It's happening everywhere, every single day. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. How many times does somebody try to force you out by slowing down or even, you know, trying to nip at the corner of your car? How many times do you get that sudden honk out of nowhere, perhaps responded to with the appropriate physical gesture when communicating from car to car, the blessed finger? And this is something that mostly is being used incorrectly. Now, the horn is a wonderful invention if you're coming up on a bunch of kids who are playing basketball or hockey or whatever they're doing in the street. They get into their game. Nobody's doing any harm so long as you notice it and slow them down. So a quick beep, and they'll clean up and get out of your way. But that's the thing. People don't go beep. Try it next time you're in a car. There's a setting on the horn where you can let loose the most polite little beep that you've ever possibly heard. No. The way people use it is to jam on their horn as if they're winning a prize on some sort of a game show. And it has become more acute. I haven't had many people honk at me over the years, but they certainly felt justified in doing so when they did it. So I'm not here to evaluate whether or not these honks were justified. I'm just here to put the problem in front of you for consideration. So what good is your honk doing? Ultimately, not much. Most people who get honked at either return the appropriate car gesture. If you're wondering, that's the middle finger. I'm just trying to be polite and slightly humorous. That's their response. Honk, finger, done. That's the end of the interaction. My wife, who is still months into her driver training, takes it personal. And she comes down and she'll draw me a diagram. I was here and this person was here and they honked at me and stuff like that. And my response is always the same. That person in this is an asshole. Now, if she described something I thought she made a mistake, I would. But realistically, she's not moving fast enough for this person's liking. They don't understand how bike lanes works. That's a big one. We have bike lanes around here, and people just have no clue how bike lanes work. And when you're trying to get over to them to go on your right hand turn, they're mad they can't go right by immediately. So they're mad at you. Why? Because you made a perfectly legal turn. They're mad at you. And they give that long honk because it's their only way of protesting. You did nothing wrong, but this person wants to offload their frustration on you. This is aggressive behavior because you're taking out your frustrations on somebody else. 90% of the time, maybe more, this just results in the honk finger dynamic. My wife is too polite to do anything like that. She'll just take it and she'll come home and complain to me, which means I wind up dealing with the frustration in your heart. Do you think that's fair to me? The innocent husband at home who had nothing to do with your conditions? But that's the way it is. I'm starting to think horns should be phased out, or at least changed so they're a little bit louder than a bike horn and no more. There have not been many, if any, accidents prevented by a horn. And I say that when I had a straight truck backing up on me when, like, it was traffic from hell. There was no place to move, nowhere to go. He backed up on me. I had enough time because he wasn't backing very quickly, but he couldn't see me. I had enough time to get out, wave in the guy's mirrors, and stop him. I wasn't aggressive about it. I stayed all the way back and just, waved. But I could tell he wasn't checking his mirrors, and my car had disappeared behind him. So I could have honked all day, and justifiably, that straight truck driver, if he heard a horn, probably would have said, huh, some jerk trying to, or getting pissed off because I forget what his reason for backing up was. He wound up, he didn't hit me. So I just got back in my car, went about my day, and everything was fine. Nothing came, there was no investigation, no reason to call anybody. So, yeah. Was that a road rage incident? No. It was me just trying to say, hey, stop backing up. And him, there was room between us. He was trying to get out of a bad place. I think there was an entranceway. Years ago, it was to a gas station. I forget what it is now, but he was probably out of the goodness of his heart backing up so that a car could go in there and let loose all the people behind him in the opposite direction. He was trying to do a good job. So, like I said, a honk wouldn't have worked in that situation. The only ones, like I said, that they really work in is someone's on the street blocking it and they're busy with an activity, and just a quick honk and you're good to go. We don't have honkers like that. We have honkers that seem to think honking establishes their territorial rights or whatever crazy thing that they have in their heads. This is a component of road rage because my wife will stand up for herself, but most of the time she lets that crap wash over her. She'll come running to me to use my experience, and I'll tease her a little bit about it, and then tell her, okay, here's the situation. But there's a lot of people that are not like my wife. You honked at me? How dare you? Peasant. I added in that last bit, but probably some people say it. And that's when you get into these stupid wars over parking spots, over who gets to go in first to the driveway. And it's just such idiocy most of the time. Or, like I said, somebody does something a little bit on the borderline of the law. They don't get all the way over. They don't proceed into an intersection because the intersection is jammed and the person behind gets flustered and I'm going to honk at this jerk. Yeah. The last thing you want is for somebody to be hesitating and backing off. You honk and you force them into an accident. Might not involve you, but you're still ultimately responsible because you shocked them and made them change their decision. Your horn should be the last thing you ever use. You have so many better tools at your disposal. You have a steering wheel. That might help you get out of the way of a couple things. A brake pedal solves a lot of problem. Remember defensive driving? They're not teaching it anymore, but it's still effective. But right now, that's the Brazilian jiu-jitsu of the driving world. And we should really get back to that. We don't need, super high quality drivers out there. We need average. And not the most, well, average is average. So if we had more average people, our insurance rates would get a hell of a lot better. And people would be a lot less stressed about driving. Driving is stressful. You're in control of a 2-ton death machine, depending on what you're driving. You're sneaking it in through narrow streets and alleyways where everybody around you is kind of crazy. That's because they're frustrated too. So cars are basically a frustration machine. And I'm not insulting they call them gearheads, but those guys who are obsessed with their car. And girls, it's 2024. Girls like cars too. And they have every detail polished out and stuff like that. Most of the really good drivers in that community don't put in the biggest horn that they can put in. They put in good brakes. They put in a good engine. They put in a good sound system. But it's still the basic horn. That's not changing because it's not necessary for them. You're not impressing anybody with your loud horn. You are impressing somebody if you can play Ozzy Osbourne from down the street and you can hear the lyrics clearly. So if they don't consider the horn worth their time, why would anybody else? Your horn is a last ditch, please don't do that. And it's not a very good one. As a matter of fact, I'd say it's your worst option possible. It's not like the 1950s where everything was open and they were teaching give a quick honk. And yes, that video still exists on YouTube. And it's so charming and old fashioned. It's worth a look. Step on your brakes, give a quick honk to let them know what happened, and then go on. Nope. It's jam on your brakes to squeal the tires, whether you were that close or not. And following too closely, yeah, that's a major problem. I could probably get a whole episode out of that if I really wanted to, but I'm probably not going to do that. But yeah, jam on your brakes while you've got the horn depressed to its maximum, so that way you can let the person in front of you know they're an asshole. Stay off your horns. Stay off the roads if you're not prepared to drive on them, because you're not doing anybody any favors. Yes, there's a certain mobility that comes out of driving that's not available on the bus or a bike or any of those other implements, and I understand that. But driving's a privilege, not a right. And people have forgotten that. They think it's their right to drive the way that they see fit, not the way the law sees fit, but the way that individual sees fit. And that's where I honestly think we should be thinking about recertifying drivers every 5 years. Even if the person is presenting to the examiner and is going to be driving the best they have ever driven in their entire life, the examiners will catch enough of them for it to be worth of their time. Now, with that, I hope you have a good day and free from horns and traffic and all that crap. I know it's not going to happen. It's a wish. Just the same way as I'd wish you well if you had cancer, and I hope you don't have that. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon down below so that way you can be signed up for whenever we release the latest episode, which is usually daily about noon. And we hope you have a fantastic day.